Hi there. Well, some people have made comments on some of my other videos that they'd like to get to know me a bit more. Like, okay, sure. So I thought I'd just throw together a quick video, kind of giving a bit of my background, where I grew up and stuff like that, and let you know what we're planning to do with the house and why I'm doing this. So I grew up in basically the north end of Toronto, in a kind of a suburban area called North York, and that's in Canada, by the way. Um, and basically, not a large house, two-bed house, um, nothing fancy. And I was always kind of a bit of a nerdy kid or a bit of a weird kid. I liked pulling apart TVs and motors and figuring out how things worked. Didn't have tons of friends, didn't really want tons of friends. Had some good friends, and that was enough. I was quite introverted and shy. Um, so yeah, basically grew up with my mom. My dad unfortunately died when I was about 17, which was a bit rough on me. I kind of ended up becoming kind of the man of the house. I was already pretty handy. And so I just kind of, that led me to doing more things like fixing plumbing or electrical, or if there were repairs to do at the house growing up. I enjoyed figuring it out. That's something about me that's seems to be some sort of weird drive, is I love a project, I love a challenge, I love to learn about new things. After finishing high school, average grades, nothing great, I went to university. I started kind of business, economics, kind of because that was what was expected of me. It wasn't really my passion. So I really was more interested in something more like in electronics or engineering or something like that, but I had no math. My math was really poor, never really been my thing. I wish it was, but I just don't excel at it. So after kind of drifting around a bit, I kind of realized that I had a bit of an artistic nature and I also had a bit of a technical nature. So I kind of switched to go to college and went for a really kind of short course in computer animation. So I really enjoyed it. I liked the challenges. I liked a bit of the art stuff, and I then went on to do work on that computer animation industry. I originally was going to be an animator. I took some drama and stuff in high school, and I thought, oh, I could be, but I really wasn't a good animator. I was good at critiquing it, but yeah, it wasn't really what I was the best at. I kind of stumbled into doing lighting. So basically on the computer, what I would do is I would position lights in 3D around characters or make environments look pretty and put lights in and try to make a mood or a feeling out of that setup. I was also very good at the next part of that, which was rendering and getting those images to come out. Um, and that was something that was kind of required for that job. So I was a bit artistic and a bit technical. And it's a little more rare to be that way. Most people are really good artists and they're positioning their lights and they're beautiful, but if something goes wrong with the scene, they're kind of like, I don't know what's going on. Or you're really technical and you don't have any idea about the art part of it. So I was in a weird middle route that kind of left me able to kind of excel pretty quickly when I first started. So I started kind of the lowest role in the company, and then I went up to being a supervisor of a department, the lighting, kind of the back end department there. So did a lot of stuff that especially some Americans might know. I did a lot of Veggie Tales for a lot of years. When I was first starting out, I did I did the cut scenes for MTV Movie Video Awards. It was kind of cool because we got to, a few of us, kind of the department heads or the supervisors got to go down and actually go to the awards, which was, we were those goofballs that no one really knew, and we sat in the back row, but we thought we were pretty cool. We walked down the red carpet and we had the champagne in the back and stuff like that. And we got to go to the after party afterwards, and I kind of like said hello to like Jamie Foxx, and I said hello to Jessica Biel, and I think we saw the white stripes in the corner. It was kind of cool, especially when you're starting out. I thought I was kind of a hot shot kid or whatever, and it was somewhat impressive. I also went along and after that job, I moved around quite a bit, which was actually more impressive to me, is that I got to live in places like Hawaii. I did some work there on like some dinosaurs and more Veggie Tales. The dinosaur things for Discovery Channel where the dinosaurs are walking around and you learn about them, that kind of stuff. And then I moved to Vancouver where I worked on a bit of a film there with Ryan Reynolds in it, which didn't do very well. I then went on to move to, where did I move to? I moved to London, England. And I got a lot of really good work there. I got to do, what did I do? I did some I was on one of the Hunger Games movies. I worked on one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, on Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, a little bit. I worked on a strange Universal Studios ride where Fast and Furious, where you would get on the ride and basically there was all these screens around, and I helped get out those renderings and figure out a lot of problems on that. And I also worked on, well, technically I've got an Oscar, me and 2,000 other people, an Oscar for The Jungle Book. That was something that I enjoy working on as well. At that point, I was pretty tired. I've been doing it for, a lot of years, and the lifestyle isn't the greatest. So I did a lot of because I was the guy at the end, and because I was a problem solver, and because I worked a lot, I was really depended on to kind of save the day. So I kind of came in, and if it was impossible, I would get the biggest shots, the impossible shots, the ones with like 50 ships or crashing waves that were really huge, or things that would take a lot of time to set up that weren't necessarily just about the look, but they were more technical. So I found that it was extra stress. I was, I was starting to get high blood pressure. I was not eating well. I was eating a lot of junk food, a lot of candy, drinking a lot of pop and soda, whatever you call it, and not having any kind of life. So I would eat at my desk. The room would be black because you can't have any light from the outside or from hallways on your screen because you've got to look at how it looks like it's going to be in the movie theater. And then I would sit there all day in a chair. I would work from, 12-hour days, 7 days a week. I would eat my dinner at my desk. They would bring in, hey, it was free food and all that, which was great, but it was generally, pizza or something that wasn't that healthy. So I put weight on, and then at a certain point I was like, I'm working 7 days a week. I'm under stress. And I kind of just ended up being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm burnt out. I don't get why. I'm not trying to impress people. I don't care if, I've met, in working on some of the films, I met some movie stars a little bit, and I met some directors that were really cool and stuff like that. And I didn't really care. Most people don't care. It's not a big deal, right? Especially in the industry, it's like, it's not something that really excites me anymore. It kind of did in the beginning. I thought, oh, it was cool, but no one cares. It's not a big deal. I certainly don't care about it. So anyways, that lifestyle, that, working so hard, having no life, other than at that point I met my wife, or well, what was to be my wife, currently my wife, and then it kind of gave me an idea that things needed to change. So I took a bit of a break and I said, okay, I got to stop this. My health isn't good. And I switched to fixing up our house. So my wife had bought a house in kind of the southeast of England near Dover. And it was a little seaside town, slower pace. Really liked it. It was still a good sized town. We had everything there we needed. But it was just a little less hustle and bustle compared to London. So I enjoyed working on that house. I completely redid the roof. I had fun with making like an automatic door for the dryer. I redid a lot of the floors. I redid all the plumbing, all the drains. I redid the back garden and put up fences and, lots of stuff and enjoyed a bit of the gardening, even though we didn't have much of a garden. So it was a really good experience to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And at that point, I was like, okay, didn't want to be in the movies anymore because it was too high stress. But I thought, okay, let's give video games a try. Went in to do that for a couple of years, more or less. And then basically I found out, you know what, it's just a different level of quality for me. I was used to working on films where you had to, like I'd work on a couple shots for like months, just looking at the frames like this and getting every little thing perfect. And that was too much. But then I went to video games and basically I would want it to look better, but you were so restricted, at least back then. I think now it's getting a little better with ray tracing and, kind of the type of lighting that's available in video games now. They're jumping up. So it would probably be a good time to jump back into games. But anyways, I don't think that's really what I want to do. So basically, yeah, we got to that point. I was in the middle of it, and then COVID hit. So, and I got COVID very badly. I don't know why, genetics, whatever. I was basically out of breath for about 2 years. Memory was just a mess. I kept getting confused, especially initially, where I was going. I would walk upstairs, couldn't remember anything, and I didn't have a stroke or anything. It was just, I don't know what it was. COVID was weird. So we both had a little extra time, and then we started discussing what do we want to do. We both didn't want to retire in England because we didn't really like the weather. I didn't like the weather in Canada. She didn't like Sam, who's my wife, Samantha. She likes to be called Sam. Basically, we both had discussed that, we want to live somewhere nice when we retire. So Brexit was just kind of starting to be talked, kind of going to happen. So we made kind of a rush decision. And we went and started looking online quite quickly. We found a place that was sort of in the middle of France, probably 3 hours north or something, 4 hours north of us. And it was a great big property, had a beautiful chateau on it. And it was actually kind of in our price range. It was surprising because houses in France are so much cheaper. It needed a ton of work, but it had a lot of great original features. So I thought, maybe. And then I went to check out the weather. And I'm like, okay, well, it snows in the winter. It's quite rainy. So it's kind of a bit like a mixture of Canada and the UK. So we're not really getting ahead. So then we kind of said, okay, where do you get pretty good weather? Where can we be okay? And where can we have a nice warm weather, nice life, and then, have a good place to retire to? Another criteria for us when we were looking for a house was I didn't want to be spending my weekends on a lawn tractor, cutting grass. I didn't want to have this massive amount of property to take care of where it becomes too much. Because at some point, when I'm getting in my 80s, I won't be able to manage all that. So we decided we wanted a exterior space, like some sort of garden, but a good sized garden, but we didn't want to have a massive property. We also didn't like the idea of being up and away from a village. So we wanted something really close to a village that would allow us to go into town to the pub or into the restaurant or be able to walk to the store. We ever go and walk to other villages so that we can do things without driving, and we can have a drink and have wine or a beer or whatever, and just have a nice relaxing time doing it, not to worry, right? And then another one of our criteria was that we wanted to get a slightly big house. Not to show off. We don't care about showing off, it's not a big deal. It's more along the lines of we expect to have friends coming and staying with us during the summer and the nice weather. And we want to be, since my families and friends are in Canada, a lot of them anyways, a lot of her family and friends are in the UK, we need to be able to say, okay, come here, you can stay with us and have a nice time. Come for a week and then get out, that kind of thing. Come for a quick vacation and it'd be great to see you. That's one of the main reasons why we got specifically a bigger house, is for that. And also it gives me something we can have different kind of, we can be a little creative with each room. So we can kind of have a theme in each room, or, a blue room or a red room or whatever. It's just kind of fun to do all the bedrooms up and to do some decoration and jazz them up a bit. So basically that was the main reason why we picked this house. We then moved, COVID had kind of started to die down. There wasn't any kind of border issues as long as you wore a mask on the plane, and as long as you wore a mask in restaurants inside at that time, we were fine. So what we did is we hopped on a plane, which is a bit crazy. It was, but it was okay. We didn't get sick or anything, didn't get anyone else sick. So we came here, we saw it, we landed, the next day we saw it, and the following day we flew back. So we saw this house and one other one. And then basically, as soon as we got back, we put in an offer because it was close enough to what we really wanted to do. It wasn't 100% perfect, but it was what we want. It checked so many of our boxes. We decided for the price, which was a good price. We knew it needed a lot of work, electrical, plumbing, everything needed to be done. Structurally, we were told it was really good. And the roof, we were told, was like new. And we have that in email. So unfortunately, we found out afterwards that the roof wasn't like new, and we're in the middle of suing to get the money to replace the roof. But anyways, that's another story. So basically, that was the main reason and the main criteria for us. We put in an offer. It took a while, but we eventually got the house. And we decided that we had to get here before Brexit happened, because then we wouldn't have the same rights as European people in Europe, basically. So my wife went and lived in north of France, just kind of across the English Channel, which is where we were living, so she could basically take the train or drive across on the train. She stayed in a small, horrible, one-bedroom, grungy basement kind of apartment thing for a few months while this was processing, just to make sure that we're legal, and she was actually living there, and she would just work remotely because it was during COVID. We could do that anyways. So she just stayed there and then went back and forth to visit me. And then once we got the house, packed everything up, and moved down here with 2 cats, and then we've been here ever since. My wife, unfortunately, because of legal reasons and because of the way her company works, she has to fly back, and she can only do she has to basically work in England and commute here, or if that makes sense. So 75% of her time, so like 3 out of 4 weeks, she's working in UK at her mom. She basically just works remotely. It's a weird law in France where if you want to work here, her company would have to treat her like a French person and establish a kind of a satellite company here. So she just doesn't work here, basically. And for that, it's makes things a bit lonely for me. That wasn't really our original plan. One of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I've got 4 cats here. I don't see a lot of people. I go out on a Friday night to the pub, and there's some lovely French people and some lovely English people and Finnish people and Swedes, and it's great to be able to come down and meet people at the pub and get outside. But otherwise, it's pretty lonely. I talk to my wife all the time on WhatsApp or whatever like that, or the odd phone call. We call my mom and stuff like that together while she's away in England. But it's nice to have a bit of a reason or a bit of feedback on stuff. So that's what I'm mostly enjoying about this, is that I can record these videos, which originally I was just going to do for friends and family. And then it kind of ended up being that because I was lonely, it gave me a little bit of someone to talk to, even though I'm just talking to the screen, if that makes sense. So my real goal for this is to kind of just document this, to share it with everyone who's watching. Hopefully people enjoy it. If they don't, that's fine. I don't want to spend a lot of time recording these, making like Hollywood level of, videos, because I'm tired of it. I know I could do better, but I don't want to. I've had that portion of my life. I'm really interested in taking this house and really jazzing it up. I don't really want to do this for the money. If I were to get money out of this, what I would probably do is put it into tools. There's some tools I'd like to get. I'd like to get a welder. I'd like to get maybe like a CNC machine. Some of the things I'd like to do is plaster work, and I'd like to be able to cut out wood trim and stuff like that for some of these rooms. That would be mostly what I'd be interested in doing, is getting some money for tools, because a lot of these tools are expensive, and I don't know if how much I want to spend on it, right? So it may just take a lot longer, and I'll do stuff by hand, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, for this house, what we're looking to do is basically, at some point, and we think in the 60s, we don't know if all the walls and the ceilings had collapsed for some reason, but it looks like all the walls have been kind of, for the most part, either skimmed over or replaced. And then the ceilings they're just very plain. There's no ceiling roses or plaster work that would have been in the corners. So what I want to do is I want to go and I want to put them back in the style that would be kind of fitting for this period of house. Yeah, it's not original, but I like to get it back to original feeling, and it would be a good, once again, a good challenge. How would you make your own plaster ceiling rose? I'd like to figure that out. How would I cut, interesting woodwork for the walls, and how do I get this to look kind of cool, right? So we want it to be, having bits of like maybe some gold leaf on some stuff, or jazzy, snazzy, whatever you want to call it, make it look kind of cool in certain rooms. Not every room, but like, the living room, or having a really grand dining room, that kind of thing, with a big, chandelier and stuff like that, and the really cool wallpaper, and, kind of fancy. That's what I want to try to do, because you could do that sort of thing in North America, but you can't really get away with it because everyone knows it's just you putting that in. Whereas here, this kind of house, this age, I'm more just restoring to what it could have been. Once again, we don't know, there's no pictures or anything like that of what this house was like, but that's the goal. Is we want to make this place maybe not like a crazy Russian oligarch with gold everywhere and crazy over the top tacky stuff, but if there's a little bit of gold here and there, it'd be kind of fun. Polished brass and stuff like that, and having amazing looking antiques and amazing looking chandeliers and lights and wallpaper and woodwork and all that sort of thing. That's our real goal, is we want to have something that's really cool at the end of it. Because for us, it's like, well, you get one, we're going to have, this will probably be our last house. We may get something and smaller at some point, but for your last big house, and my job is sort of doing this, and it is actually just kind of adding value to this house, currently anyway. So whether when I get it done, I go and get another part-time job or something to find a different way of earning just a little extra money until I retire, that's something that I'm also thinking of doing in the future. One of the reasons I'm doing it all, besides that I love doing it and because I love a challenge, is that we found, which we didn't really understand when we bought the house, is that your actual hourly rate that you pay people for kind of easy work, it's pretty high here. It's like their minimum wage is, to have some guy moving dirt for you, is a lot higher than it would be like in North America. You can't just pay a guy like whatever. You have to, something under the not under the table even, but you can't just pay him a bit of cash and he'll come and move a bunch of dirt for you. There's no kind of like guys who do that. You have to pay them, kind of contribute to the pension. You have to pay them, unemployment insurance, that sort of stuff. If you're doing it all legally, and because we're guests, or we're establishing ourselves in the country, we're not going to mess around with doing anything illegal. So it's better for me to just do all that work myself. Hopefully some friends have helped in the past, some of the more heavier work, but really I'm just going a lot slower, and I'm going to do it all myself. I'm not going to do the roof. The roof is just too big for me, even though I have done the roof before. I could do this one. It's just the amount of tiles and the size of it is just too much. I've got to, redo all the floors. I've got to dig up the kitchen. I've got to dig up the den. All the tiles are slightly up and down because of some roots had grown in from a big tree in the back garden and lift them up just a little bit. So I'm going to be a bit fussy and clean those up. We're going to keep everything possible that's original, and we're just going to add to it, if that makes sense. We're not going to keep certain things, like there was some like 60s and 70s style stuff we're getting rid of, tiles and things like that, in the bathrooms are just, they're gone. We're not going to keep any of that. But we're also going to put in bathrooms that are functional, but kind of in a bit of keeping of kind of like a classic or kind of traditional kind of old house if we can, clawfoot tubs. But we're also not going to go and try to put in cast iron ones. So we're going to do things like, not fiberglass, but what do you call them? Acrylic tubs that look like it. We're going to be having to make some compromises because we don't have the money that would allow us to get really authentic stuff. We're doing anything that's structural, anything that's important. We're going to do that higher quality, but anything you will be replacing in probably 20 years, we're not going to worry as much about, like a bathroom suite. We've got some really cool stuff we've already ordered and have upstairs, but it's going to be a while till I can get that installed. So yeah, we're not going to go not spending money. We're not going to go cheap either. We want to have nice stuff. But anyways, yeah, so for the house, that's the idea. The basic idea is we want to have things kind of sexy and cool and fun, but we don't want to go too crazy or be too worried about, oh, this isn't exactly what they would have had back then. We want things functional as well. So anyways, that's sort of the plan with what we want to do and the style we're looking for the house, to make this house. Love any comments. Anyone has any thoughts of what they would like to do or what they would suggest doing, cool ideas or colors or suggestions on how to fix things. I'm always looking for any feedback, because once again, it's myself kind of on my own, 4 cats, and I love the feedback. It's great. So anyways, appreciate you watching this talking head video, which was a bit boring, but hey, some people asked, so I thought, hey, let's throw it together. And I hope to see you in the next video, which will be very shortly. Once again, I'm going to do shorter videos and try to get a lot of little things done. Anyways, hope you have a good day, a good week, and appreciate you watching. Cheers.